Die, die, die in spiritual love. When you die in this love, you surrender to life. Die, 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 and don't fear this death, because you conquer the heavens when you rise from the soil. Die, die, and cut yourself off from ego, because ego is a trap and you are all prisoners. Take an axe to this prison, break free, become kings and rulers over your own lives. Die, die before the pole of the world. When you surrender to that spiritual master, you too will become spiritual travelers and masters. Die, die, and rise above the clouds of this world. When you rise above these clouds, you become the light of the moon. Be silent. Be silent. Silence is death's voice. Because of your attachment to life, you run away from silence.
بمیرید بمیرید در این عشق بمیرید در این عشق چو مردید همه روح پذیرید بمیرید بمیرید و از این مرگ نترسید که از این خاک برآیید سماوات بگیرید بمیرید بمیرید و از این نفس ببرید که این نفس چو بند است و شما همچو اسیرید یکی تیشه بگیرید پی حفره زندان یکی تیشه بگیرید پی حفره زندان چو زندان بشکستید همه شاه و امیرید بمیرید بمیرید به پیش شه زیبا بر شاه چو مردید همه شاه و شهیرید بمیرید بمیرید و از این ابر برآیید چون زین ابر برآیید همه بدر منیرید خموشید خموشید خموشی در مرگ است هم از زندگی هستیم که ز خاموش نفیرید بمیرید بمیرید در این عشق بمیرید در این عشق چو مردید همه روح پذیرید
Thank you, Mrs. Nawawi, and thank you, Dr. Farzad Khalvati, for the beautiful recitations of the Rumi and the beautiful translation. My name is Ali Sartipi. I'll be helping with the ceremonies tonight. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. But there's a lot to be said. I'm here at the interest of my own, and many years ago I really wanted to find out who am I, and that took me through my own journey of finding many different versions of who I was and who am I and so on. And that interest, of course, for every one of us, takes us to its own, depending on the desire and the interest of that person, would bring them to that course of their own lives and of course learnings. And that I met Dr. Khalvati about almost a year ago. I attended, maybe a bit more than a year ago, I attended some of his programs and I really enjoyed them. And I'm sure that interest is in most of you. That's what has drawn you here, that's what has brought you here. I see some new faces, and I love new faces, so that tells me it's heartwarming for that interest is in a way more alive and growing, and that's great. In my own journey, of course, what I realized is in our education system, we are really raised and grown and educated and prepared for to meet the sustenance, to meet the for our survival as if. So our education system, almost in every country, it's not just in Canada. So everywhere, the education system and the way the societies grow, people are being really prepared and trained for for a success that is sort of become the standard of different societies, and all of that is towards the day-to-day life. So it's for the survival, or really being trained for the survival, and the survival needs are changing, and that change has really affected the process of not only the education but the standards of life and so on and so on. So everybody is really as if it's in a tour of day-to-day responding to the needs of life, and that really separated us in a way. So we, as if we forgot, there's a spiritual need as well in our lives. So everybody, depending on the requirements and however, in whichever culture that they are, they get educated in that. We are all the spiritual beings. We get to get so busy in our lives that we in a way forget about that. So, our routine becomes responding to the needs of day to day. And there's no, in fact, in the education system even they cannot teach the spirituality. Spirituality is something to be experienced, to be learned from within. So that makes the teachings of the spiritual teachers actually a lot more difficult, and that's why this spirituality level did not even get so familiar in lives. And that's why actually what I was trying really to say is that's the reason that even the book is called Hidden Teachings of Rumi. So Rumi, of course, today we are not only celebrating the introduction of the book by the three authors, but there's actually four authors. The first author is Rumi himself. So about the authors, I would begin with Marman. He's been lecturing, writing and leading classes on exploration of consciousness for more than 40 years. His work has led him through a wide range of professions, including inventor with over 35 patents, journalist, a photographer, editor, marketing manager, chief technology officer, and as if those are all not enough, a corporate executive for a $1.7 billion division of General Electric, and the co-founder of a technology startup business based on artificial intelligence. Doug lives in the United States with his family in Pacific Northwest. He posts articles and open discussions on his websites. The two websites, spiritualdialogues.com and lensesofperception.com. Next would be Dr. Khalvati that you've met. He was helping us with all the setup here as well. Farzad Khalvati, PhD, is a scientist who works in the fields of artificial intelligence and biomedical engineering. He has published over 100 articles and abstracts in scientific journals and conference proceedings. Farzad is a descendant of the Sufi master Nusrat Ali Shah, also known as Hazrat Baba Khalvati. He has been inspired by the deep wisdom behind Rumi's teachings and its relevance to modern man's quest for a meaningful life. He's been studying the exploration of the consciousness through Rumi and other mystic teaching for past several years, and he has given over 15 talks on Rumi's teachings. His articles and talks are available at hiddenteachingsofrumi.com and also, of course, on Facebook under the groups of Hidden Teachings of Rumi. Next would be Mitra Shafaei, Farzad's partner. Mitra is a rehabilitation therapist in the healthcare field. Since she was young, or maybe younger, she has had a strong interest in spirituality and the poetry of Rumi. She's been leading classes on Rumi over the last few years. She's now studying ways to apply these ancient teachings to well-being and lifestyle coaching. Mitra has also been organizing lectures and dialogues on Rumi's teachings, and she leads the artwork design and development for the Hidden Teachings of Rumi website. I would like to ask Dr. Khalvati to come and have his piece that he has prepared for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sartipi, for a very kind introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I hope that this will be the last talk, and the rest will be more of the entertainment, and you'll be enjoying your time here. So what I want to talk about is the way that we put this book together and the way that we find to discover the hidden meaning of Rumi's teachings behind his poetry. And in fact, one chapter in our book called Beauty Behind the Veil. And mostly I'm using our book's chapter to talk about this discussion. So, I'm sure most of you, or all of you, know exactly who Rumi was. He was born almost 800 years ago. He was born in the east of Iran, the border of Afghanistan and Tajikistan, and when he was in the age of 13, the family moved to the west to where Turkey is today, and he was a scholar of his time by the time that he met the enigmatic and wild Sufi Shams-e-Tabriz. And that was when his entire life was transformed in a way that even maybe up until today, we have difficulty to understand what exactly happened between the two. So the question might rightly be asked, why Rumi today? Why is him or his teachings are even relevant for today's man? This actually goes back to the exploration of consciousness. It goes back to the question that most of us have had all through our lives, that who am I, why am I here, and what is the purpose and meaning of life? It is our attempt to answer these questions that draws us into Rumi's teachings, because that's exactly what Rumi has been talking about. Rumi himself in discourses says, there is one thing in this world that must never be forgotten. If you were to forget all else, but did not forget that, then you would have no reason to worry. But if you performed and remembered everything else, yet forgot that one thing, then you would have done nothing whatsoever. So you might be asking, what is that one thing that if you forgot that one thing and did all else, it really doesn't matter? And if you accomplished that one thing and didn't do anything else, that is what really matters. I would like to borrow some terminology from Carl Jung for consciousness. Because as I said, the whole thing is about knowing ourselves and knowing our awareness. And to do that, we need to ask ourselves what consciousness is when we talk about the awareness of human being. So Carl Jung was one of the pioneers who talked about not only the conscious part of our awareness, he also did a lot of work on the unknown aspects of our consciousness, namely the unconscious or subconscious part of our awareness. So Carl Jung says consciousness is a precondition of being. So any being, to be a being, has to have consciousness. Without consciousness, there would be no world, for the world exists for us insofar as it is consciously reflected by a psyche. And he continues, by psyche I understand the totality of all psyche processes, conscious as well as unconscious. And that is the key. Most of our education system, as Mr. Sartipi was alluding, focuses on the conscious part of our awareness. And the subconscious or the unconscious part, as we can expect, is neglected. Carl Jung actually coined the term individuation, which is almost the same as self-realization or self-awareness, which is the search for wholeness within the human psyche is basically the process of individuation. So in order to have self-realization, we have to also learn the subconscious part of our consciousness. Hopefully you will see the point that I'm trying to make here, what this has to do with Rumi's teachings. As you will see, hopefully, the reason that we cannot understand Rumi's teachings is because it actually taps into our subconscious mind, and that is not as easy to understand with the conscious mind. So what does Rumi's hidden teaching mean? This is a teaching that we cannot grasp by just reading them, by just using the conscious mind. It is a difference between the form, what is manifested, and what is behind the form, that is not manifested, the unmanifested. And that is where the inner part of the teachings comes to life. Why is Rumi's teaching hidden? Rumi himself says, خاموش کنم، فرمان کنم، وین شمع را پنهان کنم، شمعی که اندر نور او خورشید و مه پروانه شد. When the command comes to hide this candle, I am silent. Even sun and moon become like moths after seeing this candle's light. So Rumi himself says that he hides the teaching on purpose. What is the reason? We can only speculate. Perhaps he thought that the people of his time were not ready. Or perhaps there's a deeper reason for why he hid the teaching. Maybe there's a jewel that we can uncover by trying to discover the meaning behind the hidden teachings. And maybe if it was not hidden, we would not be able to gain that consciousness. So how to grasp Rumi's hidden teachings? As I said, it may not be easy by only using the conscious mind. By taking them within and allowing our higher self to ride on the current of these teachings, which come as a breeze into our consciousness and take us to a realm that our conscious mind is unable to understand. This can be done in dream state, or in contemplation, or even in our waking moments. It is basically by creating a personal relationship with these masters, these inner masters, that the hidden meanings of the teachings are revealed to us. So Rumi wrote several books. The most famous ones are the Letters and also Divan Shams, which our book is based on that. Masnavi and Fihe Mafi. Fihe Mafi is a collection of his discourses which were collected after Rumi's death by his disciples. And it is, in contrast with Divan Shams and Masnavi, which are poetry, Fihe Mafi or discourses are prose. And it is said that the discourses, in fact, is a gateway to understanding Rumi's teachings. So whenever you want to read Masnavi, you will find discourses very helpful. But interestingly enough, we find discourses also helpful in understanding Divan Shams poetry. So for hundreds of years, readers have enjoyed Rumi's poetry. But not so many people exactly have understood the meaning. This is especially true for Divan Shams poetry. And for Masnavi, there have been a lot of books written about Masnavi, about interpretation of Masnavi, but when it comes to Divan Shams, because of the nature of the book, it is really hard to follow the train of thought of Rumi. That is why it has been discussed among scholars that, in fact, Rumi's writings are just random thoughts. Rumi himself says, a Westerner lives in the West. An Oriental comes to visit. The Westerner is a stranger to the Oriental, but who is the real stranger? And I think we should ask this question ourselves. When we feel confused when we read Rumi's writings or poetry, we should ask ourselves, who is the real stranger? Is it Rumi who is confused, or is it us? So to summarize what scholars say about Rumi, and then you can imagine that there are really 10, if not hundreds of books written about Rumi. One of these researchers summarizes this very well. She says, out of all this scholarship, a pervasive trend emerges to read Rumi's poetry in pieces. That's the key. And occasionally through entire discourses, but never the text as a whole, as a way of organizing and clarifying his teaching, theology, and imagery. And that's, I'm sure you have seen, when you browse through internet about Rumi, you will find hundreds or thousands of quotes from Rumi. But what is common among these quotes, that it is very short, a few couplets or lines from Rumi, and that's it. So when you look at those couplets, a few lines, it's easy to understand. But as soon as you go to the source and find the lines before and after, especially the ones from Divan Shams, then you see the reason why those lines were not included in that quote, because it seems just random. It doesn't tie to those lines right after or before. So, how to understand? Rumi has an answer. He says, beware. Do not say, I have understood. The more you understand and grasp these words, the farther you will be from understanding them. Their meaning comes in not understanding. All your troubles, misfortunes, and disappointments arise from such understanding. This understanding is a chain for you. You must escape it to gain anything at all. So the question is, how we can understand by not understanding something? How do we understand what is beyond our understanding? How do we learn how to learn? This is what exactly Rumi is trying to teach. His first lesson is the way that we see can get in the way of our understanding. The way that we see the world can be a way by itself. These ways of seeing are our lenses of perception. So lenses of perception are our ways of seeing and understanding everything. They are powerful tools that they can expand or shrink our understanding. And when we cannot find a right lens to understand something, then we feel confused. So when we read Rumi's poetry and we feel confused, we cannot follow the train of his thought, maybe because we don't have the right lens to read his poetry. So in terms of what lenses of perceptions are, actually Dr. Marman has written a book on this, and he has used this idea to give a new interpretation of quantum mechanics. But it can very well be applied to what we are talking here. So two very well-known lenses of perception are the third-person lens, and the first-person lens, the objective and the subjective. The objective lens is what our science is all about. When you study something from outside, when no matter who the examiner is, the result of the test will be the same. That is the objective lens, or third-person perception. The subjective lens is the experience that every one of us is having in our daily lives. When we experience life, when we learn something through our consciousness, that is a subjective perception. So I'm sure that all of us are familiar with these two lenses of perception. Either we are talking about something from outside, or we are experiencing something ourselves. But the question is there something more? Is there something between these two lenses? Rumi says, چو سخت مست شدم گفت هین دگر بدهم که تا میان من و تو نماند این دگری. I became drunk. Love said, I'll give you another cup, so another will not remain between you and I. So what is in between? That is the second person lens. That is when you create a relationship with someone else, someone beyond yourself. Then you can have a new perspective of seeing things. It is the seeing the quality of you in the others, when we can relate to other people. So in fact, when we are experiencing the relationships, it is an ocean of possibilities, because no relationship is fixed. It is always evolving, and that is what it gives us, a new lens to understand things that we are not able to understand with only third person or first person lens. When we are involved in the you, we lose ourselves. And everyone who loves something, not even just a person, when you love what you are doing, you lose yourself. And that is tapping into your subconscious mind, going through the second person perspective. So we call it the magic of you. That is basically what Rumi is talking about. That is the language of love. Rumi always writes about second-person experiences. He always talks about you. Most of his poetry about someone. And he specifically uses the word you in Farsi a lot. The second-person lens is what we need to understand Rumi. That is how our understanding begins to emerge. So it's not just based on ideas or beliefs. It is based on experience that we are having, a shared experience that we are having with someone else, someone outside our consciousness. This is like learning the quality of you through Rumi's writings as personal letters. If you treat Rumi's writings as personal letters to you, then you will start to understand it even more. You will need a lens of love to understand Rumi's teachings. What language is Rumi speaking? He says, در خواب سخن نبی زبان گویند در بیداری من چنان گویم. Aren't things said without words in dreams? I speak that same way when awake. So the language of dream is what Rumi is using. And that is the same as the language of love. And all these can become possible only if we have or we are in relationship with someone else. The language of love cannot be understood by only first person or third person perspectives. So in the book we go through how we can actually understand Rumi's writings, and we list the ways that we have thought that can decode Rumi's poetry. So the same way as our dreams, we found a similarity. And again, I don't want to get into details, but all these can be applied to subconscious part, the dreams, and the language of love. So I want to take dream because I think it's very personal and all of us can relate to it. So dreams have these in common. They are all personal. Even if they don't look personal, they are personal if we can understand them. They also seem random. It always, most of the time, it starts with a scene, and all of a sudden, we say, the scene changed and something completely unrelated happened. So these transitions always seem to be random in the dream. And finally, it is usually about the relationship and dialogue. So we want to use these same theme and see if we can find a way to understand Rumi's poetry. The magic of you, it is a dialogue. And Rumi says, هم ای دل مشکین سخن پایان ندارد این سخن با کس نیارم گفت من آنها که میگویی مرا. O love, the fine speaker, there is no end to our dialogue. I would never dare to share with anyone these secrets you tell me. Because of the shortage of time, I just want to give you one example of those three topics that I listed. For example, the random transition. In the book, we give example how the random transition can become actually meaningful. The same way that if we can understand our dreams, the same way we can find in Rumi's writings that they are not random transition. There is a meaning behind it. I want to give an example of a third topic that I taught, which is, it is all dialogue. This is from Diwan Shams. It is in our book. I will read it in a conventional way, and then I will read in a way that we are suggesting to read. Perhaps it will help us to understand. Rumi says, for years, I cheated my existence from nothingness. With one glimpse, nothingness stole that all away from me. I am now freed from self, the past, and the fear of death. I am now freed from hopes and fears, living and dying. The mountain of existence is like hay before the wind of nothingness. No mountain exists that nothingness cannot blow away like hay. What is existence? What is nothingness? What are mountain and hay? I am tired of these words. I threw them out the door and they keep coming back through the window. Probably you actually caught this transition from when he was talking, no mountain exists that nothingness cannot blow away like hay. And then all of a sudden, what is existence? What is nothingness? And what we are proposing based on the third solution is that there is a dialogue here between Rumi and Shams. And Rumi takes a lot of roles when he's writing his poetry. It is actually more than taking a role. He's changing the states of consciousness. At once, he talks of Rumi's state of consciousness. At another time, he talks from a disciple's point of view. Another time, he talks from his master's perspective, Shams-e-Tabriz. And here, you can imagine Rumi is talking to Shams and saying that for years, saying gratefully, saying that I cheated my existence from nothingness. With one glimpse, nothingness stole that all away from me. I am now free from self, the past, and fear of this. And all of a sudden, Shams says, what is existence? What is nothingness? What are mountain and hay? I am tired of all these words. It's basically Shams answering Rumi, saying that I'm tired of all these words. Shams says, I'm trying to throw away all these words, and they keep coming back. Basically teaching Rumi that words have limit. So if you read the book, you will see these examples, and that's how we have translated the poems, and hopefully that will be more meaningful. So, the way that we have done this in the book, we use second-person lens to understand the meaning, to discover the transitions, the seemingly random transitions, and find meaning behind those, and also to discover the dialogue, to know who is speaking to who. And also, discovering the specific topic that Rumi is talking about. And there's a saying that we always make a joke, Rumi never speaks in general terms. He is always specific. He always talks about a specific topic. So the way that we did this translation, three of us, Doc, Mitra, and myself, this started almost 2 years ago, out of necessity, because we had English events and we needed to translate the poetry, and it turned out to be very difficult. So first Mitra would do the first translation, and then I would help her to edit it and improve it. And then when we were happy with the translation, we would sit down with Doug and go through it, which that alone would take hours, 4 or 5 hours. And we would really discuss every word back and forth, going to the end of the poetry to find the story or the meaning behind it. And this would be the first revision, and a lot of many revisions would follow. So that's how we actually did this translation, and it was a discovery for ourselves too, especially for me and Mitra, because we grew up with Rumi's poetry, like most people who speak Farsi. For Doc, so a lot of poems were new for him, but for us it was not new, but still we were really astonished when we discovered the new meanings behind these poetry. So I just want to warn you, if you hopefully read the book, to expect the unexpected. Because some of the interpretations you will find maybe unconventional. And you should also keep in mind, this is not a mechanical or academic translation. We believe we have stayed true to the source. But again, this is not a literal translation. And I'm preparing myself for critics when they will tell me, you knew Farsi, you and Mitra knew, why did you put this word? So hopefully we can convince you, but this will take time. You need, anyone who reads the book needs to befriend the book. You need to become a friend, and hopefully you will see what our point was. So our goal was to get to the heart of the meaning, and also we have taken some poetic license to capture the poetic aspect of the meaning, to make sure that the entire meaning comes through. So that's why we have tried to stay away from the mechanical translation. And if you feel confused, it's okay. Sometimes Rumi wants us to be confused. Sometimes that is the only way to tap into our unconscious part of our awareness and to understand the deeper meaning of the poetry of Rumi. So actually before we met Doug had been researching Rumi for over 20 years, and he has written a book on the interpretation of Rumi's fi'l mafi. He calls It Is What It Is. And anyone who likes to read fi'l mafi, I really recommend this book because it really gives a new perspective of understanding fi'l mafi. He also has written another book from the past of Sikhism. It's called Sukhmani. The reason that he chose this because he found the similarity between a disciple and master like Rumi and Shams and another disciple and master like Guru Arjan and Guru Nanak. And it's just beautiful to see that this keeps repeated in the history. And I just want to read a very short quote. It reminds me of Rumi and Shams when Guru Arjan writes to his inner master Guru Nanak and says, O the destroyer of pain and grief, occupier of every heart, helper of the helpless, I have come under your protection by holding the skirt of the living Guru. And again, if you are familiar with Divan Shams or Rumi, you find similarity. So this is just a poetic book that has interpreted from Guru Arjan and Guru Nanak. His other book is Silent Questions. It's about the hidden or the silent questions that I talked at the beginning. Who am I and why am I here? So very briefly, I thought it's good to talk about the cover design of the book and what it means. We tried to show, this was done by an artist back in Iran, but we tried to show that Rumi, in a sense, is still alive, and his teaching as a tree is still feeding the world. And the teaching at the first are in the form of the words, like the leaves, but then they become spirit. They actually enter into the spirit world and they become timeless. And by the bright spots that you see, that's what we try to show. Also, the leaves of the tree are in fact Farsi letters and Farsi words. The words that Rumi uses a lot, like you, to, ish, love, and magu, say nothing. So the next project is, we are already working on the second volume of this book. It is also based on Divan Shams, and hopefully by the end of next year it will be published. Also we will have, as before, public events, talks, and book club. So I want to go back to the first quote I read from Rumi. Who is the stranger? So if a Westerner lives in the West, an Oriental comes to visit. The Westerner is a stranger to the Oriental, but who is the real stranger? Rumi says, isn't the Oriental a stranger to the entire Western world? So Orientals thought that the Westerner is a stranger, but that was Oriental or the Easterner himself. He was a stranger to the entire world. It is like us when we are reading Rumi's poetry and we feel, oh, these poems don't make sense. But maybe we should turn the table around. We are in a stranger world. The whole world of Rumi is a stranger to us. Rumi continues, still, this whole world is but a house, no more. Whether we go from this room to that room or from this corner to that corner, are we still not in the same house? Speaking of conscious mind, no matter what we do, are we still limited with our conscious mind? But the saints who possess God's jewels have left the house. They have gone beyond. They have gone beyond what conscious mind can comprehend. I just have a few people to thank. So Sina Bathaie is our good friend. He was kind enough to accept to come to our event to play Santur. Mr. Houshvar will kindly play the traditional, very ancient instrument of Persian music, Tanbur. Mrs. Nawawi very kindly accepted to read the Farsi poems, and my brother Farzad, who's taking out the sound, and he will also be playing piano when I will be reading some poetry in this second half of the event. Farzad actually has composed a music album that will be released later, hopefully this year. It is called Love Comes First. So we have a lot of good friends that over the years have always supported us through our events. We cannot really thank them enough. I just want to list their names and tell them that we are really grateful and we really appreciate their helps. But finally, this event couldn't have been possible without generous and gracious help of Mr. Sartipi Aziz. He kindly sponsored the entire event. He encouraged us to actually hold this event, and we are very grateful for his kind support and help. So we post these talks and some of the articles in two websites, the Hidden Teachings of Rumi and spiritualgods.com. Also, we have YouTube channels that we put these talks. One of them called Rumi and Exploration of Consciousness, and the other one where Doc actually posts his talks is Lenses of Perception. And finally, to leave you with what Rumi says, جمله معشوق است و عاشق پرده‌ای زنده معشوق است و عاشق مرده‌ای. The beloved is old and the lover but a veil. The beloved is living, and the lover a dead thing. Thank you.
So without further ado, we would ask Mr. Houshvar to come on stage and play the Tanbur that you all have been waiting for. And while he's going to tune his Tanbur and set up, I would read a few words. Introduction of Mr. Reza Houshvar. But before getting into that, I have good news for you. This is the book. I've read a few pages of it. If you found some complexities in Farzad's talk and all that, don't worry, all those complexities are over with. The book is simplified. So not only there's the poem in Farsi and then a direct translation of that in English, and then the beautiful explanations by all three authors into English. And that was beautiful, the ones that I read. So Reza Houshvar grew up in a family of music. His mother was his first mentor, singing for him and teaching him Persian classical modal systems, dastgah. He began with sitar when he was only 9, learning techniques from many maestros for over 20 years. A long list of those names was given to me, but I only picked a couple. Within all these years, his love into Tanbur drove him to follow Tanbur as a spiritual instrument and a style of life, until he had the honor to follow Maestro Khosrow Purnazari and Maestro Muhammad Zulnuri, learning Kurdish culture and different Kurdish maqams. Reza has performed in many concerts in Iran and in Toronto. At the same time, he teaches sitar and Tanbur. I think I'm going to go to his classes and learn one of them. I would start most probably with sitar. Hopefully that would be simpler. And he teaches those to the interested students, face-to-face and online. very much. The authors have at least signed a book in appreciation and thanking your efforts for this evening tonight. Thank you very much. I present this on the And after this music, actually, I changed my mind, so I'm not going to learn sitar first. I'm going to learn this one first. This was so beautiful. So be ready for that. So while everybody is coming to take their seats, I would just give a little story that was in Fia Mafi. It's about changes in our lives that would affect us and would open up the inner consciousness. And in that story, a bit of the story is, just imagine as if there's a king of a large, huge country, and the king sends hundreds of people to different parts of the country, all of them with a specific task. And they all go to the places, and before starting with the task that the king requested, they just get involved in their own daily routines, daily businesses, and in their daily routines they do hundreds of other tasks, but except for the task that the king sent them to do, and their life just passes on, and that would be some sort of a story of our purpose. So if we wake up to the purpose that the king put in us, prepared for us to wake up to that and be able to deliver that purpose, that would be the idea. So with that, I would ask Mrs. Lavedi and Dr. Khalvati to come and have the second poem for us, please. Thank you.
چهره زرد مرا بین و مرا هیچ مگو، درد بی حد بنگر بهر خدا هیچ مگو، دل پرخون بنگر چشم چو جیحون بنگر، هرچه بینی بگذر چون و چرا هیچ مگو. دی خیال تو بیامد به در خانه دل، دی خیال تو بیامد به در خانه دل، در بزد گفت بیا در بگشا هیچ مگو. دست خود را بگزیدم که فغان از غم تو، گفت من آن توام دست مخواه هیچ مگو. تو چو سرنای منی بی لب من ناله مکن، تو چو سرنای منی بی لب من ناله مکن، تا چو چنگت ننوازم ز نوا هیچ مگو. گفتم این جان مرا گرد جهان چند کشی، گفتم این جان مرا گرد جهان چند کشی، گفت هر جا که کشم زود بیا هیچ مگو. گفتم هیچ نگویم تو روا می داری، آتشی گردی و گویی که درآ هیچ مگو. همچو گل خنده زد و گفت درآ تا بینی، همه آتش سمن و برگ و گیاه هیچ مگو. همچو گل خنده زد و گفت درآ تا بینی، همه آتش سمن و برگ و گیاه هیچ مگو. همه آتش گل گویا شد و با ما می گفت، جز ز لطف و کرم دلبر ما هیچ مگو، جز ز لطف و کرم دلبر ما هیچ مگو.
See the reflection of misery on my face, but say nothing. Witness the endless suffering, for God's sake, say nothing. See a heart filled with sorrow and eyes flowing like a river. Whatever you see, let it go. Don't ask why, say nothing. A vision of you came to the door of my heart last night and knocked. It said, "Come, open the door," and say nothing. I bit my hand wailing from seeing your pain. The vision said, I'm here with you. Don't bite your hand. Say nothing. You are like my flute. Don't moan without my lips. Until I pluck you like a harp to play a song, say nothing. I said, how long will you drag me around the world like this? The vision said, wherever I drag you, come quickly and say nothing. I said, if I say nothing, is it okay for a consuming fire to ask me out and tell me to say nothing? Like an open flower laughing, the vision said, come, look, the whole fire is nothing but a blossoming garden, say nothing. This fire then changed, and I saw a garden of articulate flowers saying, except for the kindness and graciousness of our beloved, say nothing.
Well, I asked Mrs. Nabavi to join me back, just in appreciation of all the kindness and efforts that Mrs. Nabavi has extended to us. The authors have signed this book, and I'm presenting this book to you on their behalf. Thank you very much. So I think the next part is Mr. Khalvati, who is going to have a program for us. Thank you. Please take over.
This is a short story based on our translation of Diwan Shams. The story contains lines or couplets from different ghazals, which you can find in our new book, The Hidden Teachings of Rumi. The story of a traveler's journey to inner worlds. Every one of us is a seeker and traveler on the journey of life. The seeker of inner world is always a traveler. He is the traveler of inner worlds. His heart is full of longing and is seeking the beloved. He is asking everyone for any sign of her, both in dreams and awakening. What dream did I have last night that I am drunken today? Like a madman, I escaped the chain of mind. I dream in awakening, because as long as I have this pain, I can't sleep. Did I see the face of true love in the dream, that I am now worshipping her? Oh love, come, you are like soul in body. By your fortune, I am freed from the prison of body. The traveler does whatever he thinks the beloved wants him to do. You told me to tear apart the veil. I did so. You told me to break the cup. I did so. You told me to abandon all friends. I left everyone and fell in love with you. But the beloved is nowhere near. You wounded my heart, because my only guilt was that I expected your eyelashes bring the vision of you. The seeker is heartbroken. He slips into despair, pleading the beloved. Tonight is one of lonely nights. Please have compassion and come, so I read the story of my love. When the agony of separation becomes unbearable, a feeble call from deep within the traveler is heard saying, anyone with love and longing in his heart should know, if the heart's door doesn't open, there is a reason. Go and sit at the door of the heart, since the hidden beloved might arrive at midnight or dawn. The traveler is filled with joy and hope of union with the beloved. He sits at the door of the heart and contemplates upon heart. Around midnights or dawns, in deep contemplations or waking dreams, he listens to the inner current of life. Far from outer worlds, from the depths of within, a voice emerges. The traveler listens with all of his being. From the depths of subconscious realm, the voice slowly crosses the conscious mind. And the unmanifested is manifested. And the traveler can hear, my dear one, why are you staying so long in a foreign land? Is this the beloved who is calling him? The traveler always thought the beloved has forsaken and left him on his own on the path of loneliness to face the ever-blowing winds. The inner voice slowly fades away, and the traveler ponders, is it even possible that the beloved seeks the lover? In all years of separation, he never imagined this was possible, that perhaps the beloved too is a seeker. With every contemplation, every dream, and every interaction with life, the beloved's call comes closer. My dear one, why are you staying so long in a foreign land? Come back from loneliness. How long will you keep suffering? I have sent 100 letters and showed you 100 different ways. Either you don't know these ways, or you don't read the letters. If you don't read the letters, the words themselves will call you. If you don't know the ways, you are still in the grasp of the wayshore. Come back, because in that prison, no one appreciates you. Don't stay with stone-hearted people when you are a jewel in the worlds of God. Lover's heart is filled with joy when the beloved is with him. A vision of you came to the door of my heart last night and knocked. It said, come, open the door and say nothing. I bit my hand, wailing from seeing your pain. The vision said, I am here with you. Don't bite your hand. Say nothing. Now, the traveler has a companion who knows all the unknowns of the inner worlds. Every step and every stage in life is a discovery for him. And no matter what the result of every challenge, the traveler explores life with the beloved. He loses himself in life, and life becomes an open book to him. One day the beloved tells him, look, how formless and faceless I am. How will you ever see me truly as I am? The traveler says, share your secrets between us. The beloved replies, where is this between that is between us? Don't search for me in this world or the next. Both worlds are lost in the world that I am. The beloved continues, you are now exactly like us. The traveler replies, what is exactly like in this state that I am? The beloved says, you are that. The traveler replies, be silent. I cannot say with words what I am. I am rising into nothingness like the moon. Wow, I am moving without legs. The traveler has become like the beloved. Their souls are so entangled that one cannot exist without the other. Look how close your soul is to mine. Everything you think about, I know. Friends know each other's inner self. I wouldn't be a true friend if I didn't know. This companionship transcends all separations, even death. The traveler is on an everlasting journey, and there is no end to the journey of life. Life always goes on. The traveler is still on the journey into the unknowns of the inner worlds and discovering the endless beauty of the beloved. O heart, transcend your life and see the spirit of life. Leave this world to see the other world. Unless you expand beyond, how can you reach the next afterworld? Free yourself to see that reality with certainty. Oh friend, if you are looking for signs on this path, lose yourself and become signless to see the next signs.
Without further ado, we'll ask our dear Sina to join us on the stage. So while Sina is going to start, Sina is a composer, Santur player, based in Toronto, is known for his unique style and approach towards Persian contemporary music. His hypnotic performances have garnered him fans from across the world. His recent album, Ray of Hope, is dedicated to all those who have pursued, who have suffered, while the world waits for us to remember this wisdom that love ignores all boundaries. Sina, along all his performances, also offers in-person Santur lessons in Toronto. For more information, please check his website, sinabathaie.com. Thank you.
congratulate Farzad and Mitra for this book. Can't wait to read what you guys did. Really looking forward. I'm playing 3 songs, 2 more songs tonight that I picked. I thought works with this setting for tonight. The first one was called A Tale from the Past. And the next one is one of the old songs called Childhood Memories. It's from my first album, Sound of Silence. to end the night with this piece of mine. It's from my second album, and it's called Niyayesh, or Invocation. I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much.
again for your awareness for coming. Thank you very much, Sina. There's a book also, as you said, we're going to read from corner to corner. Right from the first page is your name signed on it. Thank you very much. So, there's a lot to be said. Before wrapping up the meeting, I would like to just conclude with one little phrase here and leave you with that. It's all about love. They say it's all about love. When they say all about love, what does that mean really? Because we think we know love. We love our mother when we were born and all that, and we love our brothers and sisters, we love our father, we love our friends, and we grow up and we tend to fall in love many times with girls and boys and whatnot, and we experience a different kind of love, and then it all grows. It all grows because it's life is all about love. Life wants to teach us different levels of love and awaken us within a deeper sense of love. And all of these are different stages that we tend to experience and then realize. Somewhere I was telling, there was a little girl, for example, comes and asks her mom, "Mom, what is it feeling to be a mom?" And the mother can explain for 10 minutes or half an hour or hours. The girl will not understand what is the meaning of to be a mom until that girl grows up and delivers her own baby. And at that time, she experiences a different level of love. In that day, in that hospital, there was no injection of a love, or there was not a page to be given. This is how the love of child is. That love she experienced. Where was that love? The question is, where was that love? She was 12, she was 10, she was 20, whatever. She didn't know that. That love was within her. That love is always within us. Life wants to wake us up. There's a deeper love, and I want you to experience that. I want you to learn it. I want you to be free from enslavement of your mind and find that deeper sense of love. And this whole growth thing grows. And Rumi, one of the masters of love, and many other spiritual teachers, of course, they teach spirituality to the extent that they want. One thing that I see or realized, all these spiritual teachers, they try to simplify, to make it understandable in many ways that they create, and they innovate and try to say. But Rumi mixes the beauty and simplicity, and that bringing simplicity and the beauty into one content, especially in the Persian culture and the Persian wordings and the metaphors that they use in their poems. It's so beautiful that mixes that beauty and that simplicity to deliver the message, and it's hidden, and that's why they call it Hidden Teachings of Rumi. Otherwise it was obvious, and they could have just taught it, just like how we go to school and learn physics and mathematics and chemistry and this and that and whatnot. If it was that simple, they would have taught it so easily. So it's not, but it's also is. The good news it's within us, and life wants to wake us up to that. So with that, I encourage you to get the book, patiently read it. Every time you read that, you get a different layers and different levels of that. Eckhart Tolle beautifully says, realization of oneness of life in all forms of life. So what are the forms of life? The plant life, animal, many different forms of animal life, and human life. He says the realization of oneness of life in all forms of life sets a different understanding to the meaning of love. And that itself a good beginning, so I will leave you with that. So, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming, thank you for taking time, thank you for your patience, thank you for your interest. And thank you, Farzad and Mitra Aziz, for your patience and dedication to this book. I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people evolve and change and find the deeper sense of love in their lives. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.